May the Lord be with you. What I would like us to think about for a few minutes is our constant efforts to achieve the treasures of this world, often to disappointment because they do not bring the joy and comfort we are seeking. We believe that happiness will be ours if we attain one or more of the following goals: wealth, pleasure, power, or honor. We could also list liberty and freedom, but these goals are tantamount to power. If you have liberty, you have power because no one is controlling you. In our Western culture, perhaps power is considered the ultimate motivator, the final acquisition. If we attain power, wealth, pleasure, and honor will usually follow. Gandalf, in The Lord of the Rings, was visiting the home of Bilbo Baggins. He sees the ring, and for a moment realizes what he is foregoing by seeking the ring's destruction. As Tolkien recounts, "Now the elves made many rings, but secretly Sauron made one ring to rule all the others, and their power was bound up with it, to be subject wholly to it, and to last only so long as it too should last." Translated into English, one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Thankfully, Gandalf overcomes the temptation and leaves the ring. The last temptation of Jesus by the devil in the desert was similar in scope. The devil promises Jesus that he would acquire all the kingdoms of the world if he would only bow down and worship the devil. Power with no earthly limit. Could have been the deal of a lifetime. Jesus refused, telling the devil to be gone, and quoted Deuteronomy saying, "You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." The devil then left him, and angels served him. Power, however, to Thomas Aquinas, is not the ultimate objective. Power is always for something else: to move, to attain, to achieve, to acquire. And as subordinate, power cannot play the role of the supreme motivator of the will. Power can also be used for good or ill. The very ambiguity of power tells against its status as ultimate goal. So if the acquisition of power doesn't satisfy, what then becomes the ultimate motivator of human endeavor? The answer is pleasure. Pleasure here is taken in the broad sense, and pleasure appears to be that for which everything else is done. But again, as with wealth, honor, and power, pleasure is derived again from some higher and abiding value. We can also feel pleasure in doing evil acts, which proves that the good feeling of pleasure in itself cannot be the final, unadulterated good that the soul longs for. The goal is happiness, but happiness at a higher level than we usually ascribed to it. Within this broad category of pleasure, the most difficult to describe, is a type of happiness that encompasses a reach for fullness and perfection of happiness, the fullness, therefore, of goodness, beauty, truth, and love. So we recognize in this category those things that are, in a sense, beyond what we are capable of doing purely on our own. Human experience reveals clearly that the attainment of even the greatest of worldly goods leaves us wanting still more, still unsatisfied. C.S. Lewis observed that the insufficiency of finite goods is realized not so much at the worst moments of life, but precisely at the best, when we've tasted victory, intense pleasure, moral satisfaction, or the adulation of the crowd. For in the immediate wake of such joys, we sense that we still want more, or, to put it more positively, we sense that what we have experienced is a sort of sign or sacrament of the unconditional good that we really and secretly desire. This will pushes us beyond the world, Aquinas concludes. Hence it is evident that nothing can lull a man's will save the universal good. This is to be found not in any creature, but in God alone. At this point, we can conclude that a principle of spiritual physics, God alone can satisfy the infinite hunger of the heart. Only when the soul is filled by God will it find sublime happiness. But who is God? According to the teaching at the very heart of Christianity, God is love. Therefore, to be filled with God is to be filled with love, which is to say, the willingness to empty oneself for the sake of another. And so the paradox. Happiness is never a function of filling oneself up. It is a function of giving oneself away. When the divine grace enters one's life, and everything we have is the result of divine grace, the task is to contrive a way to make it a gift. In a sense, the divine life, which only exists in gift form, can only be received as a gift from God, freely given, but our hearts must be open to receive it. No one in our great tradition summed up what I've been saying over these past few minutes more succinctly than St. Augustine of Hippo. In the very first page of his Confessions, we find the formula. Thou hast made us for thyself, and our hearts are restless till they rest in thee. Everything else is a psychological and spiritual life is essentially a footnote to that statement. Amen.